to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn and Andrea, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. If you are a big thinker or you aspire to be a big thinker, then you are in the right place today. I'm thrilled to have Andrea Liebross joining me on the show again. As an expert business coach and life coach, Andrea is celebrated for her work empowering ambitious female entrepreneurs to translate their biggest visions into tangible accomplishments. She was on the show, Power Talk Friday, episode 797, where we discussed self-worth. And we will link that in the notes because that show is packed with tips and strategies to ditch your doubt, to take charge, and to get paid what you're worth while you're doing it. This is what we tune into Power Talk Fridays for, right? We don't mess around. These experts know their stuff and they bring it to the table. Andrea is a prime example. In addition to being the author of She Thinks Big, the entrepreneurial woman's guide to moving past the messy middle into the extraordinary, Andrea is the host of the hit podcast, Time to Level Up. Andrea guides her readers and listeners and her students and her clients to create profitable, successful businesses while achieving work-life balance and personal fulfillment. That's that health and wealth combination, right? Her superpower is distilling complex situations into clear action plans rooted in self-belief. I'm super excited to announce that Andrea is not only with me on the show today, but she will be with me at the table with you in Dallas on April 5th. Yes, if you are joining us at Power Talk Friday in Dallas, April 5th, 2024, she's going to be with us. It's going to be a great day. If you're there, and I hope you are, I know that this is going to be one of those days that you look back on and remember as a pivotal moment in your business. I know it. I know it to be true. Okay. I'll fill you in on more details on the Power Talk Friday after the interview. Just keep in mind, there is a link in the show notes, powertalkfriday.com. If you can't wait, you got to go look at what it's about. And seats are limited. Now, if aspects of leading and growing your business feel chaotic, overwhelming, or stalled, you might be in that messy middle, as Andrea calls it, and she can help. Today, we discuss what big thinking is and how we can get there. And according to Andrea, it takes a little trust. Trust. That's Andrea's acronym for the 5 keys to becoming a big thinker. We're breaking it down step by step and walking through how to learn from your future self, how a big thinker deals with limiting beliefs, and how the messy middle is actually essential for big growth. This is a pen and paper episode. You don't want to miss it. But don't worry, we'll put a goodie for you in the show notes in case you cannot take notes while you're listening. All right, let me introduce you or reintroduce you to Andrea. Andrea, thanks so much for coming back onto A Well-Designed Business with me.
I am thrilled to be back, LuAnn.
So first of all, I want to say a huge congratulations to you that your book has come out. It's a couple, 5-6 months now that it's out though, right?
It's been a little while. It's been September, the end of September, It came out.
Yeah. Give us the title. It's a long enough title that I need you to say it.
It's really long. She Thinks Big, the Entrepreneurial Woman's Guide to Moving Past the Messy Middle and into the Extraordinary.
I like that. I love that. That's such a, we all get it, right? Like that's so you get us. You were in that messy middle and come on, I can do great things, right?
Yes, you can. You can.
That's it. So this is what you do. You help coach women Is it
Mhm.
primarily or only women, right?
It's only women. There's a few men stragglers, but 99% women.
Okay, so it's not men are not excluded.
They
If
are
they
not.
feel comfortable and they wanna be there, they're welcome. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you coach women to do this, to get out of the messy middle and move to the extraordinary. And the thing today that we're gonna talk about is thinking big. And, I think I would love for you to just what does that mean to you in this context? What is thinking big?
So thinking big really comes from, I call it your future you. Okay.
Mm,
So this is the person who is a year, 3 years, 5 years, however long your brain, whatever the length of time your brain can go. And so for some people, it's really hard. This is a hard concept to even think about 6 months from now.
mm,
But you go to that future you who has built the exact business they want to build, who is spending time with their family, who's not afraid to take time off, who has all their ideal clients, whatever that might be. And you ask her what to do today. And that future you is thinking a lot bigger than you are today because all you've got is the past, which is a teacher, but it's really not a fortune teller, and you've got the present, which, we're filled with emotions and feelings. And a lot of times that dictates what we want to do or don't do. And that future you, all she's filled with is enthusiasm
mm.
and wisdom
I was gonna say in the
and
knowledge that
in the
you've done it
knowledge.
already, right?
Yes, yes. So big thinking comes from a different place than today. It comes from that future you. Now you got to talk to her, have to ask her, what do you think? But that's how I best describe big thinking. Because right now, if we like to stay comfortable, we want to do what's familiar. We all want to do what's easy. I'm all about easy, by the way. But usually, if you're thinking bigger, you're probably going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going
Mm,
to have to do something challenging. It's probably going to take some time. And that future you, she already did it. So
yeah,
she's like, you've got this. You can do it. She's going to offer you up those ideas that the today you probably won't have or
yeah,
doesn't want to go to.
yeah. I feel like too, and this may be part of your process, so don't mind me if I like, jump ahead here, but
Yep, go for
I
it.
I feel like too, it reminds me of when we goal set for our business.
Yes.
So, right, I'm so goal set driven from the standpoint of the training of window works all these years.
Yep.
So, my role was sales in window works. I never woke up. There was no morning in 35 years that I didn't know how much I had to sell that week, that month in order to get to the year goal that Vin and I established for my year goal. And when you talk about what is your future you see, what is your future you experiencing, I knew in January that I'm not going to get to $1.2 million in window treatment sales if I don't sell 92,000 in January and 150,000 in May, like we would set it out. And as soon as you have 1 month where you don't make that goal, you're just like, oh, I got to add to next month. And so I feel like it's when you say what is your future you want, it's almost like, oh, it's less maybe what I want and what I picture for myself is less tangible than an actual sales goal. But if my future you is I'm designing luxury homes, or like to your point, I am enjoying life, I have a firm and I take time off, then what is my today you doing to actually make that happen other than wishing for it, right?
Yes, yes. So
Interesting.
sometimes I like to say we don't need a to-do list. We just need a to believe list. Like I
Mm,
believe that I can sell $92,000 in January and go skiing.
and go skiing. Yes, yes,
So
yes,
that's
yes.
so if that's the belief, if that's kind of the future you, if that's your big thinking, then that's really going to tell you what to do today. You don't need the to-do list. It's going
Right,
to tell you to follow up with the client who's kind of disappeared. It's going to
right.
tell you to plan the ski trip and you're going to figure out how it's going to happen,
That's
right?
right.
So that's kind of the to believe is actually a piece of this as well versus the to do.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. The to believe is versus to do. Okay. And then there's another sentence that you kind of caught me with, is what do big thinkers do that we might not be doing? It's kind of like, okay, I get the concept, I'm
Yep.
on board,
Yep.
but what are they doing that I might not be doing?
Okay, so I've kind of narrowed it down to they do 5 things, and I've used the acronym TRUST,
Hmm.
TRUST. So number 1, they do have to trust themselves. They have to trust other people. Like you and I recorded an episode probably now almost 2 years ago. I don't even know.
Mm,
And it
mm.
was about what you're worth. And part of that episode, we talked about you have to believe in the emotional and financial maturity of your client. You have to believe that they're going to get what you're charging and why you're charging and that you're worth it. So right then and there, that's you believing that something's possible and trusting in that person. So the acronym is trust. The T to start out with stands for thought options. Okay, so
Thought
here's
option.
thought options. So here's what I mean by that. You have your brain has over I think 60,000 thoughts a day. That's what the scientists tell us. 60,000 thoughts a day. Okay?
God.
Lots of them are very unconscious, but some of them are very conscious. And as a business owner, oftentimes we have thoughts that are critical or judgmental or are you sure you should do that? I don't know. You've never done that before. You've never charged that much. You've never gone skiing in January. You've never done those things. So those are thoughts that we have, but we have to remind ourselves that we have those are all optional. We could just as easily think, of course, I'm going to Sun Valley in 2 weeks. Yes, that person is going to get it. I'm not going to have even have to explain anything to them. They're going to say, yes, I'm in. Put the window treatments up. Let's go. I don't care what you do. You just do it. It's going to be perfect. Right.
Right.
Those are options. They're just as available to you as the criticism, the judgment, and the doubt.
I
So
love it.
big thinkers really recognize that they've got options as to what they want to think. So that's number one, and that's what the T stands for.
Okay. So let me just recap here. So what we're saying is that the fleeting thought comes through and it's a
Yep.
thought that doesn't serve us, and to understand it's a thought, and that thought is an optional thought. Like
Yeah.
there's a yeah, because that's what I always say. It's only true between your ears.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
because you thought it doesn't make it a fact. It actually
Correct.
doesn't.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's no.
So a big thinker gets that. A big thinker understands. A big thinker isn't immune to limiting thoughts. A big
Correct.
thinker just understands, oh, I can choose to put that one aside and have a different thought about this.
Yes. Like the thought you might. Most often we've got thoughts that don't serve us or aren't useful. And okay, you're allowed to think that, but is that where you want to go? Is that helping you move in the direction you want to move in? Probably not. So
And that right there, it seems to me, is a worthwhile mechanism to just actually check it. It's like the thought
yes.
comes in and say, is that a good thought? Do you want to keep that thought? How do you feel about that thought? Does that thought how does that thought affect your future self that we just
Yes.
sat down and figured out who they were, right?
Yes. So today a client said to me, actually someone who does window treatments, said, I need to have all my ducks in a row. I need to have all my ducks in a row. And I, I said, okay, tell me about the ducks. Tell me about what are who are these ducks? Have I met them before? What are we talking about? And she really couldn't, she didn't have that was just, that was a thought in her head. I mean, probably she's thinking I'm not organized enough or whatever.
Right.
But I said, looks like to me you get everything you need there. I mean, okay, so the ducks in a row, that's a thought.
That's a
That's a
thought,
thought.
right? Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because
Yes.
that's somebody walking around saying, "I've got to get it together. I've got to get
Yeah.
it together. I don't have it together. I have to get it together." But take a
Yes.
moment. Do you? Do you not? Are you just saying that? What's happening, right?
What are we even getting together? I always
Who
love that one.
are these ducks and where are they
Right.
going?
Where are they swimming? I want
Love it.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So that's T. So R, trust, TR, R stands for real problem.
Ah,
So,
love this one.
okay. So, what is the real problem? And 99% of the time, the real problem that is keeping you thinking small versus thinking big is not a problem at all. It is just a negative feeling. It is just a negative feeling. It's just fear, or it's guilt or doubt or overwhelm or frustration, any of those things.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And we don't want to feel those things. Like, I don't love feeling those things. I mean, I'm human, but there's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. There's not a problem.
There
Even
are
like,
no ducks.
there's
That's
no
you're
ducks,
right.
right? There's no ducks.
Yeah.
And she just wants to, she feels a little out of control, right? So
Mhm.
she doesn't want to feel that way. That's the problem. The problem isn't that she doesn't understand her client or she doesn't have the materials or she doesn't have a proposal or none of those. She got all that. So
What
the
is the
real
real
problem,
problem? Yeah.
is really a negative feeling. I'm notorious when I'm working with my clients to kind of say, okay, okay, so wait. I want to hear the whole rest of the story, but I want to know, what is the real problem?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get really quiet.
Yeah.
No one has a good answer.
Right, 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 right.
Right.
It's funny. I see this bear out when I work with my chairman of the boards as well. And it's you're talking about deeper issues. You're talking about when you're trying to be your best self and you're thinking big. But it also happens if, we're literally responding to an email from a client. And I'm just like, I don't think that's the real problem. I'm like, this isn't the root. This isn't about all of this. Let's get to what the actual thing is that this client is asking for. And so often we can either do the thing,
Yep.
fix the thing, or explain that the thing isn't on our plate to fix. Right? It's
Yes.
not out. You can that hi client, that's awesome, but that's not actually my problem. That's not me and you. You got to go somewhere else for that, and I'll help you and I'll advocate for you. But the thing is, it's just like in our interaction with other humans when we're in conflict, we've got to get to what really the hot buttons are. What you're saying is you have to do it with yourself too.
You
What
totally have to do it
is
with
the
yourself.
real problem? It don't like let all the nonsense out of your head. What is the real problem?
Yes.
Because like even this woman, I have no idea where this went, but like I have to get all my ducks in a row. You know, here's I can picture it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm feeling unorganized, busted about blah, 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 and what is the real problem? Well, the real problem is that I actually consistently overschedule myself and I do not allow myself time to do the quotes that I have to do every single week. So put it in your calendar, sweetie, and move on. Like what are we doing every week? I've done all my ducks in a row, right? Like sometimes it's just that simple.
We got to a place where she is in the process of hiring, but she hasn't done it yet. And why hasn't she done it yet? And that would help her create time to do all these other things that would keep
Because
the
she doesn't
ducks
have
in a
her
row.
ducks in a row.
Right, right.
I
She
have to
she
be organized before I can hire somebody.
she even went to, like, I need to contact the state and I've got to figure out all the legalities of it. And I like, okay, sure. I want you to be legal, but we could have these conversations and someone could be ready to go once you answer that question. So, yes.
Okay, I got it. I love it. All right. So identify the real problem and don't pretend to yourself it's something that it's not.
Yes, like I another client today said, no one's she's worried about cash flow. And I've got all these proposals out and no one's saying yes, but no one
Hmm.
said no. So why aren't they saying yes? So she gives me answers. Oh, they're telling me about time and money and blah blah. I said, are those really is that really the problem? And we talked, no, they know it's going to cost money. They have time. The problem is you're not closing them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because you're afraid to kind of say the hard things
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or hear the no. So,
You gotta ask for the money.
yep, that's the money. So that's that's the real problem. Next, you in trust stands for embrace uncertainty.
Okay.
So it's really uncertainty, embrace uncertainty. And this is an interesting one. You and I don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow, even though we could guess and predict, and we don't know what's even going to happen tonight. We don't know.
5 seconds from now, we have no
We have
idea.
no idea. So everything's uncertain. We
Mm.
really don't know. And people have a hard time with this. I mean, I love a plan. Believe you me, like, I am really one of the tools that I think kind of falls under this big umbrella of big thinking is you've got to have tools, and one of them is a business plan. I'm in on that. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
but we don't really know what's going to happen, and I think a lot of times that holds us back from thinking big. Like if I say to someone, "Where do you want to be in 5 years?" Oh my gosh, I can't even figure out where I want to be in 5 days? How am I going to think about 5 years? All these things could happen. I don't know where my kids are going to be. I don't know what the economy is going to be like. I don't know who's going to be the president. All the things. Okay. So, yeah, you're right. We don't know. And that's okay that we don't know. But we have to embrace that and kind of get good at being okay with uncertainty and unknown. And I think this really comes across when I have a conversation with someone and they say, "Oh, yeah, sounds like a great idea. But listen, I just need to think about this.
Hmm.
I need a day, 2 days. I got to think about it. I'm not someone that makes quick decisions."
Mm.
Okay. So then I always say, "Can I have permission to put my coach hat on?" Sure. What exactly are you thinking about? What exactly are you thinking about? And they might say, "Oh, I got to look at the bank account." I'm like, you kind of roughly know what's in there. Let's get real. "Oh, I've got to talk to blah, blah." What do you think they're going to say? Okay. You know all those things. So, really, what's going on is that you're uncomfortable with the uncertainty of saying yes or no to whatever situation.
Mm.
That's what's going on. And we do that to ourselves, right? We
Yes.
delay decision making. We decide, oh, this isn't the year we want to scale. We maybe don't want to hire this person, whatever it is, because who knows? This was actually one of the ducks in the row people. She doesn't, this person that she's really excited about bringing on to her team, she thinks she's going to be amazing, but she's not sure. Guess what? You're not going to be sure until she comes on and you see her in action. And you might, after 3 weeks, you might say, nope, this
Not
doesn't
what
work.
I thought it was.
And
Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay. Like you
Yeah.
didn't sign up for a whole lifetime.
Yeah.
So embracing uncertainty. And every time we tell ourselves, I need to think about it, which again, clearly I'm all about thinking. She thinks big. But what exactly, being clear about what you're thinking about.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I have an example of also embracing uncertainty, that how it can hold you back, in a different vein. So those are absolutely, legit, and have experienced those as well. But we just had, like, I kind of function as the quasi sales manager at WindowWorks with JC. And we were having a meeting. We have a sales meeting every Monday morning. And a couple of weeks ago, we were reviewing the individual goals by month for each salesperson to get to their yearly goal, like I was just
Okay.
talking about. And what was interesting is that we first start with what did each one sell last year,
Okay.
and then we also say, as a company, what did we do, and what is our push goal? So we have, are we shooting for 20% over last year, 10%, 5%? Who's willing to throw spaghetti at the wall? Who's more conservative, right? And we kind of come to an agreement. JC and I are both reachers, so it's always going to go higher than every one of our salespeople think it should be. Okay, um, but what's funny was, when we actually finally came up with it, we actually settled on a 27% goal above last year for each salesperson. That's significant. Having sold for 40 years, that is significant. And the thing about a big reach goal is, if you hit 20, we're all still happy, right? It's
Exactly.
not a big deal. Even if you hit 5, you're still happy. But here was what I just heard, the definition of your embrace uncertainty. One of the salespeople, he's a thinker. I adore him. He brings so many good topics and thoughts to our sales meetings. Like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, right? But he was sitting back and he was thinking. And finally I just looked at him and I said, Are you good with this? Like, because you're not like hoorah here, like go Window Works, right? And what was interesting, Andrea, is he said, I'm good with the goal for myself. He said, but I'm wondering, how will I make promises to our clients about it getting installed? Because if we as a company increase by 27%, what is going to happen to our lead times? What is going to happen to, the lead times coming on the deliveries, and then our in-house lead times? And it's so funny because I hadn't talked to you. I didn't understand the phrase and have it at my fingertips, embrace uncertainty. But you know what I said to him? I said, you're not wrong to think that. I said, I agree. I said, but your role is sales. You push the number and you trust that your management team we'll make the adjustments. Believe me, we start to see all four of you pushing every month at 20, 27%. Trust that we will get it installed. There's no other way you can do this. I cannot wait. I cannot hire anticipating you all going to 27%. I can't. I'm not doing that. I can't put on that manpower because you are going to get 27%. But I promise you, trust in us. You pushed to 27% over last year. I will make sure there's eyeballs to install it. Right. And so he was having a moment where he was not embracing the uncertainty of how was operations going to execute his sales.
That's
Right.
a great example. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because there's a trickle down effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he good question on his
Yeah.
part.
He's thinking. He's a thinker.
He's thinking, but you have to be okay with trusting that your big thinking that you're pushing him to do, you're going to act on it as well,
Well,
right?
that's the thing, and that's why I think it's the epitome of your big
It is.
thinking concept. And, it's like, and if I were a brand new business owner, I might have no track record. But I said to him, believe me, in 40 years, we've never not got the stuff installed. We'll move. We will move. I will figure it out. Vinny B, JC, we will figure it out.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's I sometimes I'll bring back, "Hey, remember that whatever happened in the past? What did you do?" "Well, I figured it out."
Yeah. Yeah.
"Okay, guess what? You're going to figure this out too."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just going
Yeah.
to figure it out. You don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but you're going to figure it out.
Yeah. And
So,
he knows it's not that easy. You just don't put on qualified installers on the dime. You
no.
don't. I know. And he's not wrong. But without having your language of being a big thinker and all that stuff, I'm just like, dude, you do it. We'll figure it out.
Yes, I love that example. It is
We
the
just
epitome.
think big and I will figure it
Yes,
out.
because guess what? If you didn't challenge him to that 27%,
hmm
I don't know what would happen. I mean, hopefully everybody would meet what they did last year and some more, but you need the 27 and you're totally right. If you get to 5 or 10%, that's better than no percent. So,
And how about if we hadn't had the space for the conversation? Think about
right.
that. He might have been in his lane thinking, oh, we're down one installer and we haven't replaced that installer. It's been 4 months. And because we've been interviewing like crazy pants and we can't find the installer, right? And it's like, he could have been like, oh, I better like put the brakes a little on my sales until they have that. And I'm just like, no, 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 no. You're pedal to the metal. Like,
Yeah.
believe me, if we got to get Nagara on a ladder, we'll get him on a ladder. Don't worry about
Yes.
it.
And it's also about expectations. So you tell the client, okay, it's going to happen in 2 weeks, not 1 week.
That's
I
what
mean,
I
whatever.
said.
Like,
I said, right now we're 6 weeks. I said, listen, in COVID, we said 12, we said 20 weeks. Believe me. I said,
yeah,
we'll figure it out.
yes, yes,
Anyway, I love it. I love it. That's awesome. So embrace uncertainty and
yes.
different versions of embracing it, but like get your head around it, right?
Get your head around it. Yes,
Love it.
yes.
Okay. And the S?
S, secure support.
Hmm.
So no big thinker I know does it alone.
Right, 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 right.
No one goes it alone. And this is also like this secure support. A lot of times people say, "What do you mean? What kind of support? What are you talking about?" And it can really look like a whole bunch of different things. I think number 1, you have to have what I call life support. Okay, life support. If you need to use Instacart to get your groceries, go for it. If you
1000%.
need to have a nanny, go for it. If you need to reschedule things because you have a sick elderly parent, go for it, right? So you've got to have life support in place. And a lot of times we kind of skimp on that a little bit.
Yes. We'll figure it out. We'll just power through whatever.
Power through, right? And then we become exhausted, and then that's a whole other story. So there's life support. And then there's business support. So, who is literally and figuratively supporting you in your business? Who do you run your ideas by? Do you
Yes.
have if you don't have a official board of directors, do you have an unofficial board of directors? Are you part of a coaching group, or are you part of a mentorship, or are you part of a community? That's support. Do you have someone or something that can help you make decisions quickly so that you're not hanging out in the small thinking for too long, right? A lot of times, I think as business owners, we don't make decisions quick enough And then there's what I call business lag. It kind of just like, okay, if he's not going to push, he's going to wait around for you to hire the installer. There's business lag
Yes.
right there.
Right, right,
Ok-
right, right.
Right.
Yep.
So you need to secure support and life support and business support. And I think if you're not spending your most valuable resources, time, money, and brain power on securing support is the most important thing. Like,
Mm.
yes, you could go lease the new space, which is going to cost more. Yes, you could bring in the new product line. Great idea. But do you have support to help you literally do that and figuratively do that as in your thought processes? So, I
Right.
used to it's the support thing is huge and people kind of forget about it until they need it, or they kinda push it off and say, I don't need that. I'm good. I always just figure things out on my own," put power through,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kinda thing.
Two things come to mind because you talked about it, like you want to do a studio, whatever, like the financial support, right? Like
Yes.
you have to have command of your own numbers in your own bank account, but I'm huge on you need to have access to money. Right? Whether
Yes.
you have an open line of credit or you have an Amex with an unlimited amount on it that you don't have to pay in full. Like if you need 30K, you need to be able to get 30K.
Yep.
Right. And the thing about it is that there are times when you're set up in every way for a great opportunity except the money. And
Right.
if it's a really good calculated opportunity, you can't not do it because of the money, right?
Right.
It's
Yes!
right. That's
Why
that's a
does
big thinker, right?
why is like, that gets people stuck so many times
Yes, I
because 'cause
know.
they're just looking at whatever it was in the bank account today. They're not even I mean, I've had so many conversations and I'm like, "Okay, let's get creative. Do you have a zero interest credit card? Have you
Right.
ever taken out a small business loan?
Yep.
Do you have something that you could liquidate? What if you had a flash sale of whatever? Like, let's get creative."
Exactly.
And this seems like
Yeah.
I
You
don't
know, and the thing is, I'm not advocating that somebody live out of their lane,
know.
okay?
No, no,
Right? You gotta be able to go to sleep at night. But it's funny because I've had many designers tell me as a point of pride, which you should take pride in it. I agree that I have never been in debt in my business. And I'm thinking to myself, we've been in debt probably almost every day that we've been in business. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
and I think the difference is with interior designers, there's and it's not all. Most designers when they start to build their business, they understand there's a managing of debt, okay?
yes,
And that you can do it responsibly and it's not ridiculous, right? But, like when I think back to Window Works, you can't open a window treatment company without going into debt. You need to buy a van. The stuff has to be carried to the thing, not in the back of your like Honda. Okay.
yes,
Right.
yes,
And you need tools and you need ladders and you need, all the things. And like when you think about if you're going to open up a pizza shop, like you got to buy ovens, you got to buy tables and chairs. Like
yes,
there's like the day you open, you're already five figures and maybe six in debt. And so, but because an interior design business can literally be in business 1 minute before
yes,
after the next one. And so there has to be, I think, if you're a big thinker, and whether it's you're going to invest in a coach, you're going to invest in your branding, you're going to invest in a website built by a grown-up human as opposed to your kid
yeah,
on Wix or something. You know what I'm saying? Like
yes,
whatever feels important and relevant to you, there is a spend money to make money that doesn't have to be a runaway train, right?
correct,
I
correct.
mean, and I find this industry is very, not very, that's way too big of a word, is sometimes adverse to that.
Well,
So having financial support would be the thing of that, right?
yes, and have a client right now, an interior designer, and she is very proud of she's almost paid off all her debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And which okay, I'm proud
Yeah.
too.
I am, yeah.
Good. But yet, like in that kind of business, it's kind of like you said, you're always in debt in a sense
Yeah.
because you've got inventory and whatever. But I also kind of always bring up the point, yeah, but if you told me that if to spend you spend $20,000 and you're going to make 200,000.
Yes.
Wouldn't you do that?
Right. Right.
I don't know. So
Yeah.
so
But you
there's
have
a
to have the financial support. You have to
you do.
know that you have the access to the credit line or the credit card that isn't high interest or, I can't tell you the number of times when we needed money to grow the business that we would put it on a card and Vinny would mark his calendar 5 months and 15 days,
Yeah,
switch it to another card with a lower rate or another entry rate. I
right.
mean, there's ways to rob Peter to pay Paul but I can tell you this. He never just put it on a card or opened a line of credit and just was like, okay, minimum payment $35 for the rest of my life. So this 20 grand actually cost me 200 to
Yes.
borrow.
You've got
So
to have a
there's
strategy.
yes, 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 yes. So
Yes.
I love it. So we want to have life support. We want to have business support. We want to have financial support. And on business support, I can't imagine, I can't even fathom thinking that I have the ability to answer every question that goes through my mind regarding my business. Like the number of people that I have on Voxer that I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do
Yes.
you think about that? You know what I mean? It's like there must be 25 people that I'm like, I need to know something. Oh, that's the person I should ask. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I use Voxer all the time. I'm always on Voxer
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, me
You've
too.
got to have kind of sometimes I call it your personal board of directors.
Yeah.
You've got to have those people kind of on speed dial
Yep.
to ask the questions.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women especially don't necessarily have people that they can ask those harder questions to.
Yes.
You have the people that you can chit chat with about nothing, and you have your family, which we all love our families, but they're not necessarily always going to have the answers either, and nor do we really want them to always have the
Right.
answers,
Right. Right.
right? We don't want them meddling in the decision making in a sense. So yeah, so you've got to have monetary support, you've got to have life support, you got to have business support, and you kind of also have to have time support. So you have to have protected time. And that for some is also tricky because the feelings get in the way. They're feeling guilty. They should be spending more time on this or that, or they're not spending enough time, whatever it is. So you need to have protected, secured time.
I love that. I love that. And probably, you know, we we were talking more and more often about the correlation of health and wealth. And so that protected time support, it's the protected time to get the floor plans done and the design selections done, but it's the protected time to go for walks, to
Yes. Are
go
you
to
still doing
yoga.
that every day? You
Oh,
doing
I
your walk?
am. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Oh, yeah. Like, it's like what it is my thing is it's a minimum of 8 minutes. So, I will tell you, 6 days out of 7, it's only the 8 minutes because I'm like, at the grind, like, okay, I gotta get the like, oh, I gotta get the work done. I gotta get the work done. But it's almost a year now. It's like I started June 25th of at least it's the 8 minutes. And then what I did was I have a rebounder. So I have
Yes.
a rebounder at my home in North Jersey. I bought a rebounder for my beach house and I bought a rebounder for my office because, just three, like it happened to me and you today. We got one podcast done and the other person is sitting in the waiting room. And sometimes I just go out, I bounce 60 times, count to 60 and get back in the room.
Right.
It's like grabbing, but I'm actually talking about more protected time, not
Yes.
grabbing 60
Yes.
seconds.
Yes. Yes. So you've got to secure time.
Yeah.
You've got to protect it. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's really key, and I think that is something too that prevents you from thinking big because you fear that, oh my gosh, if I'm going to try to sell 27% more, does that mean it's going to take me you know, how much longer is that going to take me? Do I have to be out on the road more? Do I have to be making more offers? Do I have to Okay, you could be spending more time on it, but maybe you're offering a different product line or the
Right.
pricing has changed or whatever, right? So it doesn't always have to be time. So when someone says, I'm not sure I have enough time to do that, we kind of have to look at it two ways. Is it because you're not protecting your time or securing it? Or is it because you're thinking if you add more, it's going to be, it equals more time?
I love that. It's funny because that was a part of our conversation. I said, now we got to talk about how are we getting 27% more? Because I don't feel like any one of you were like, hey, I had nothing to do any day this year. Right. And so
Yes.
we did talk about the strategies of how do we get that gross number higher, stay within, within integrity with
Yeah.
our clients and all of that. But it was, do we need to sell more soft treatments versus hard treatments? Because by nature, they are higher gross margins and higher gross dollars, right? And what products, like, you know what I'm saying? So it
Yes.
literally is that whole conversation of great to think big, but what's the strategy to do it, right?
Yes. So that's
Love it.
why I always say, the think big is like the big umbrella, and then you need the tools, the strategy, the systems below to support that big thinking, which is exactly what you're talking about.
I
So
love
that's
it.
why I think when I work with my clients, it's like any of that is fair game for topics.
Right.
We can talk nitty gritty, tools, system, strategy. We can talk mindset because both are equally important.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And then we have T, the
The
final T.
last T. The last T stands for take action.
Love
So
that one.
you do have to do something. You do have to do something. And
Can't just passively listen to the advice.
no, and it can't be the I call passive action versus massive action. It
Mm,
can't be like listening to this podcast. Now, I love podcasts, clearly. I have my own podcast. I'm on your podcast. Or reading. I'll clearly like books. I wrote one. I read them. That's passive action where you're gaining knowledge, but are you then turning the dial to the massive action? Are you putting those things into play? Sometimes I say it when on my podcast, it's like, I'm glad you're all listening, but are you listening with a pencil? Are you going to actually do anything with all these great ideas that you just heard? Right. So you've got to take massive action in order to be a big thinker because you've got to keep fueling that big thinking. You've got to see what happens. You've got to adjust and move forward. So you need to take massive action. It's a no-brainer.
what I love about it is if you're listening and you missed it, if you're like, okay, but how? Literally, the first TRUS is the how
How?
of taking massive action. Like, first, get those thoughts out of your head. You know what I mean? Like, choose your thoughts and then all the things. It's like that is the recipe for doing it. And then it's so funny because, I guess you've thought about this, Andrew. You have it very well tied up in a bow. Like, my brain is like, and then, of course, then you're a big thinker. Like, you're a big
Yeah.
thinker.
Well, and go back to we talked about at the beginning. Instead of having a to-do list, you need to have a
Like a
to-believe
believe
list.
list,
So
yeah.
the to-do list, right, are the actions. But if you are a big thinker and you're having that, what do I need to believe? You're going to know what the actions are that you need to
Mm,
take. It's going to
yeah,
become very obvious.
yeah.
So, yes, I did kind of wrap this all up in a
You
bow.
did. It's very well thought out, I have to say. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. I love this. I love this whole thing. It is true. It's funny because not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur. It's
Totally
it's
true.
it's just the truth. And I think that many understand that if many entrepreneurs are existing in some level of big thinking. It takes big thinking to just say, "Hi, Sally Smith Interior Design here," right? Like that's a lot of
Yes,
courage. That's a
it is.
lot of courage. I am in business, right? But we can't then, be pumping the great, but it's like, hit the brake, hit the gas, hit the brake. It's like you gotta go. Just lean in and go with calculation, with knowledge, with people by your side and time in your corner and all the things. But ultimately, yeah, you just gotta go for it,
You
right?
just gotta go. You've gotta I love the pumping the brake kind of
Yeah,
analogy because you really do have to just always have your pedal on the gas. It doesn't
yeah.
have to be 100 miles an hour,
That's right. That's
but
right.
it does need to be a slow, steady pace that
Yeah.
you're moving at.
And
Yes.
I love that because it's a better ride.
Yeah.
It's a better mental ride. It's a better outcome ride going 45 miles an hour for 20 miles as opposed to, if you can do 60 for 20, great, but I'd rather you do 45 all the way than 20, 40, 20,
Yes.
40, 20. Like that's just like
I love to think of it too as you're just giving yourself an upgrade. Okay,
mm,
so it's not as if anything's gone wrong. Okay. You're already leading, you're already making money. Nothing's gone wrong, but you're just giving yourself an upgrade. It's like instead of putting 87 in the gas tank, you're
Yeah.
putting the 93,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I love it. I
right?
love it.
Or 90, what's the one after that? I don't even
Yeah, I
forget.
don't know either.
Right. All right. So there's the different grades of gas, like if that's an upgrade. You're giving
Mm,
your thinking an upgrade. Thinking about all that support, that's upgrading your thinking. What would feel luxurious to you? What would give you warm and fuzzy feeling? And when you feel that way, you're going to perform better.
mm. And the thing is, it's funny because it's talking about the gas pedal on off analogy. In our very first years in Window Works, we ended up within 2 years, we had 3 showrooms open, and the reason that we were able to open the 2nd and 3rd showroom so quickly was because Vinny had 2 very close friends in his circle that expressed an interest to be in business, and they were like, "Hey, I'll partner with you." And so he was like, "Awesome." And what was interesting is the one partner he left us back in like 93, right? So he was partners with us for probably 10 years, maybe 8 or 10 years. But it was so funny because he was not an entrepreneur. He was a good technician. He could sell window treatments. He had rapport with clients and all those things. But he really was meant to be with Vinny because Vinny was the manager. He was the operations guy. This is how we're going to do it. This is how the finances go. Anytime we needed to buy a truck or an upgrade, I remember him being like the other guy being like, well, I don't know. Are you sure? Can we afford him? And he's like, just please go sell blinds. I'll be fine. We'll be fine over here. And then one time we had to go up to Boston for a product meeting. It was like like it was for shutters and stuff. And I don't remember why Vinny couldn't go, but this gentleman and I drove. Now, just think about the true entrepreneurial personality behind the wheel of a car plus Jersey. Like I'm like, Vinny and
Yeah.
I were like, we put the foot on the gas pedal one time and then we arrive, right? Like,
Yes.
and this gentleman for 5 hours was the guy in the right lane, pushing the brake, pushing the gas, pushing the brake, pushing the gas. And I just bringing me back to that. And I remember thinking, this is his personality in everything. It's like, should I? Yes. Okay. It's good. Should I? Yes. Okay. And what I want to say about that is, it's okay if that's who you are, but
Yeah.
be smart like him and partner with somebody or have a business advisor or a coach that can help you see the clarity of when you are pushing on the gas, that it's good. Just keep
Yes.
going. Give a little confidence to you to be like, yeah, 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 that instinct was good. Keep going. Like, just keep the foot on that gas.
Yes. Yes. Well, I had a client today and she was asking me, she said, I was at this networking event and I asked these questions and what do you think? And I said, I think those are all great
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, yeah,
And well, what should I do different? Like, I don't think you should do it different anything.
yeah.
Just keep going. Just keep
Keep
working at
being
this.
you.
Keep trying
Keep
it. Keep
being you.
being you. Keep like seeing how things feel to you. Just keep going because
Yeah.
she was all ready to stop
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and
That's
change
what I'm
everything
saying.
up.
When you say the support, the business support, you need the people around you because if you're an entrepreneur, you've got something in your brain. You've got some drive, some vision,
Yep.
something burning at you to do for you. But if your innate personality isn't a big thinker,
Right.
right? It's okay to borrow. I always say borrow the confidence of someone else.
Yep.
Get like let me tell you what's amazing about you.
Yes.
Let me put the light on you and then just feel it and see it and go, "Oh yeah, I can do
Yes.
that." Right? I can do that. You
I
know?
had I did a live She Thinks Big live in January,
Mm,
and I brought some of my kind of long-term clients up on stage to share their experiences. And one of them said, and I had never really heard her say this before. She said, Andrea, you told me in the very beginning that you believed in me more than I believed in myself."
mm,
And I still remember that, and that is what kept me going. I had to borrow your belief in order to keep going.
yeah.
And I mean, now she's, I don't know, she's like 10 extra business. I don't, it's all amazing. But that is so true. You can borrow other
Yes.
people's belief. You can borrow other people's big thinking
Mhm.
as your own until
Mhm.
you kind of get it yourself.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think that if anyone struggles with that thought, think about how and who you do that for in your life, whether it's your children, your partner, a sibling. You have looked at somebody and said, "You're not actually seeing your secret sauce. This is a really cool thing about you. You're not lying to that person. You're not
No.
making it up. They don't see it yet, but you do." And so that's why I love the support part of
Uh-huh.
this, life support, business support, financial support, because you do need to put yourself in circles where you have the opportunity for someone at least once, whatever, once a day, once a week, once a month, be like, "You're really good at that. You're pretty cool at that. That's an awesome thought you just had," because you pick them up along the way and then you combine them, with, like, I don't know if you know Heather Hansen. Oh my God,
Hmm.
you should know Heather Hansen. She's was a trial lawyer and now she coaches, and she calls it evidence. You gather the evidence
Yes.
along the way of, this is truth, this is a truth about me, and I can start to believe it now too, right?
Right, right, because your brain's always looking for evidence to support what you're thinking. And a lot of times we look for physical evidence, the bottom line, but
Yeah.
I think the thought evidence of
Yeah,
what someone else sees in you is just as important.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So give us 2 seconds on your podcast and how we get to your podcast and your books and all your book and all the
Yep.
things.
Easiest way is to go to Andrea's with an S, links with an S,
Oh,
andreaslinks.com,
oh, that's
and
fun.
you're going to find a link there to my book, to which you can also get on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, all the places. You're going to find a link to the podcast. It's called Time to Level Up. So if you're listening to this right now, you could find it on your podcast player. And you'll have a link there to my website where you're going to find a couple quizzes that might help you figure out what's really going on. Um, and also a link if you're interested in coaching or all the things I offer. There's a link there to book a call and find out more.
Right. And so the way your coaching program works is that it's group coaching, small cohorts, 10 or so people, and the coaching program is divided into revenue
Yes.
groups. So up
So
to
I've got people that are, working on their or probably at their first 100K.
Mhm.
You have to have a business.
Right, 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 right,
Have
right.
to already have a business. So first 100K, and then I have people that are, hitting seven figures. And I've got three groups that are kind of tiered according to where you're at. And it's interesting because it does correlate your revenue sometimes, or most of the businesses that I'm working with, does also correlate with your mindset.
Yeah, oh,
Because as you grow in revenue, your thinking changes
yeah.
and kind of, I like to call it though a spiral, and in my book there's a picture of this sort of upward facing spiral because you go through the messy middle occurs in every stage,
Yes.
but it
Oh,
gets
yes.
but it gets smaller relative to all the other stuff going on. Like you go through it quicker, you
I
make
was just gonna say,
decisions
I
better.
think you recognize it faster, and you just like I'll just speak from my own experience.
Yeah.
Vinny and I, with zero up to $4.5 million in window works. It's like I can look at the different stages. I can remember them very clearly. And what it is it might be that stage between 2.5 and 4 is hairier by a lot of ways, but what isn't hairier is, "Oh, this is a transition. Oh,
Yes.
we
Oh,
have to
this is
change
how we do
something.
this.
Oh, the way we did it last year isn't gonna work for this year." Like you're constantly needing to evolve your
Yeah.
systems and your operations based on exponentially having grown your business, but you don't wallow in it longer.
No.
You don't resist it. You're just like, "Okay, folks, we need to change something."
Right, and one of my clients very astutely said on that same stage, she said, "Your business is only gonna grow at the rate that you're growing personally."
100%. I will 1000% back you on that. If you
Yes.
are not, that's when I really started to, when we hit a million and 1.8 million, that was when I really started to lean into, oh, we need eyeballs around us that aren't just ours. Like,
Yes.
we got us to here, but we need that business support. We need to be interacting with other business owners and somebody who's at 3 million and somebody's at
Mhm.
5 million, because I wanted the crystal ball. I want to see what it looks like. What are your problems at 3 million? So maybe I can go through them faster on my way from 1.5 to 3. And I
Exactly.
can figure it out. We're smart people, but it will take us longer. Whereas, I think that's what it is. And it's like, as you go through your different stages, to the point of Heather Hansen, you have the evidence of, we've gone through this before. It looked different,
Right.
but we did it. And we just have to do it this way this time. And we have to figure this out this time. We don't know what the thing is, but we have evidence that we have evolved, and it has been sometimes easy and sometimes hard. But either way, we did it, right?
Right, right. And I think that's why it's important to be, have a group or a community to help you see in that crystal ball
Yeah.
and not get stuck
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there is a messy middle to every stage and that's okay.
Yeah. Well,
It's
and it's
okay.
so funny because I was talking to somebody, I don't remember who it was, if it was on the show or one of my chairman of the boards, but I remember just saying, no, I don't think it's ever going to feel like it's all figured out. Like, I'm just going to tell you because as soon as you figure it out, you put a new challenge on yourself. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's like like, I don't know, like Vinny has a saying, your business is growing or it's dying. Like, that's it. There's no, like, it doesn't stay the same. You're either, and it doesn't mean you have to grow from being a solopreneur to a team if that's not your, but even a solo, you're growing if you're making your efficiencies better so that you have more time with your off time, right? You're growing or you're dying. And so I think the messy middle is always there, but it's navigating it with more efficiency and more clarity and more speed, right?
Yes,
Just getting there.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
no wallowing.
No, that's the thing. The messy
Yeah,
middle, if you
that's the
wallow in it,
business lag and that doesn't feel good either.
no, and it's torture and it's the waking up
Yes.
like Groundhog's Day. It's all the same crap
Yes.
the same day. Why is it not working? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I totally know what you're saying.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, you know why too? Because we've been through it, right?
Right.
We're not
Right.
immune to it. Like, and I still growing a new business now. And it's like, if I don't have somebody slap me across the face every once in a while, like, hey, snap out of it. What are you doing over there? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, what am I doing over here? Because you're
Right.
too close to it sometimes.
You are that's a huge thing. You're like you're in the messy middle, so
Yeah.
you can't see the outside.
It's the truth. It's
It's
so
totally true.
true. It's so
Totally
true.
true.
Well, this has been awesome. I appreciate you so much. This was a fun conversation. I love I love anything that would be like, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's like, okay, I can start on that.
Yes.
I can tackle
I
this.
love giving tangible
Yes.
takeaways.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you, Andrea, for being here. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me.
So, were you nodding along during this conversation, right? As entrepreneurs, we often find ourselves stuck in the messy middle. But it's not always a bad thing. And as Andrea wisely said, that turbulence is a sign that we're growing. And the thing is, the bigger we get and the better we get at doing the business part, the faster we learn to navigate these challenges in the messy middle. But it takes action and it takes trust. I love Andrea's acronym for what it takes to be a big thinker. This isn't passive. This is a how-to guide for that last T, that massive action you need to take to be a big thinker and to get to the extraordinary. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So let's go back to the first T and recap Andrea's words in trust. T, thought options. We all have plenty of thoughts, but we have to remind ourselves that these are optional. These are optional. Positive thoughts are equally available to us. We need to start choosing those options because the criticism and the doubt do not serve us. Big thinkers recognize that we have options when it comes to what we want to think. Andrea is not saying that limiting thoughts won't come to us. What she's saying is, as a big thinker, we aren't going to dwell on them. I covered how to overcome limiting beliefs with Alex Gourlay back in episode 447. It's linked in the show notes, and it has some great insights from Alex on that episode. Now, R, real problem. What is the problem? Nope. What is the real problem? Right? Go deeper. Get to the root of what is actually holding you back. It will probably surprise you. Andrew said 99% of the time, the real problem that is keeping us thinking small versus thinking big is actually not a problem at all. She said it's usually a negative feeling, a fear, a guilt, or a doubt, an overwhelm, a frustration. Call these feelings out. Take their power away. Remember the first T, you have thought options. I love it. Next is U, uncertainty. We have to embrace the unknown. We have to. No, it's not negotiable because there's no crystal ball. Do you think when I started this podcast, I knew we would be celebrating its 8th birthday this year and we'd be hitting 1,000 episodes this summer? No, I didn't dwell on the things I didn't know about for sure. If I had, I might have worried, how would I handle the podcast and WindowWorks? How would I do all the editing and the writing and the social media for a big show? But we can't let the things that we don't quite know or don't quite have figured out hold us back, because then we don't get to the point where it's happening and then we do see the path ahead of us. All right? Think about where this step sits for a minute. It sits right in the middle of the word trust. Give yourself that. Give yourself trust, and don't let uncertainty or the unknown hold you back from the dream, the thinking big. S is secure support. Big thinkers are never alone. Never. We talk about this all the time. You need to surround yourself with people who can support your vision even when you don't quite see it yourself. Because there are days where you question your own vision. One day it's completely clear. You're exactly sure what you're doing. Some crazy remark comes on social. Some client review comes in. Some conversation, and you're just like, why am I doing this? Who said this was a good idea? Right? Andrea pointed to the power of borrowing the belief that others have in you. I have to say, this has been a recurring thing in my life all the way to when my girls were little. And I remember my one daughter, Christy. I've told the story on the podcast before, but she was in a customer service situation. She was returning something at the mall. I think she was a senior or in high school or a freshman in college. And she did all the right things, explained it respectfully, everything else. And the woman just like stonewalled her. It was like, no. And she said, and she took a step and she started to walk away. And then you know what she said. She goes, and then, Mom, you know what? I strapped my LuAnn on, and I turned around, and I walked back to her, and I said, this is just not acceptable. I'd like to speak to the manager, please. And so that's an example of borrowing the confidence from someone. It could be a colleague, a friend. Borrow mine, for crying out loud. I believe in you, okay? Just, secure the support. Heather Hansen, who's been on the show, episode 811, and she was our moderator at LuAnn Live, our MC at LuAnn Live. She talks about this a lot also. Follow her on Instagram. Look in the show notes for her podcast episode. Listen to her podcast. But a lot of this is showing up there. So if this is something that's striking a chord with you, that's another resource to go to. Right? But there's even more to this kind of support, right? It's about having the support in your life for if you're raising kids, or you need to be, they're the one that does the groceries or the house cleaning, or business support and bookkeeping and monetary support and having a credit line available to you. All the things, right? Look for the support in all the ways so that you can show up as your best self. All right? Now, I have to tell you, when you are looking for support in your life and your business, I want to now go back and tell you about the Power Talk Friday tour. This is an exceptional opportunity to meet coaches and mentors and peers where you will create business besties. I have in Dallas, April 5th, Michelle Williams with me, the Vincenz is going to be there, and Kathleen Anderson. Each of these people are, they're my finance people, okay? Kathleen is also an expert on design for construction. We're also going to have Kay Whitaker there, who is a branding, a content creator, and a digital marketing expert. And Andrea is going to be there, and she is going to be there helping us with limiting mindset, beliefs, with thinking big and getting out of our way and doing all those things. So please go to powertalkfriday.com, learn more, register, be with us in Dallas, April 5th, 2024. Now, we're back to that last T, take action. You can think about all the things in the world. You can have all the intentions. You can have all the wishes. You can daydream all the time about how you want your business and your life to be. But if you don't take action, it's a waste of time, right? So there is the time for planning, for dreaming, for thinking big, and then there is the time for actually putting the concepts into practice so that you create real change. Okay? Because this is how you get out of the messy middle, right? This is how you scale. Whether scale means I'm going to go from, a solo entrepreneur to having a team of 10, or scaling means that I'm going to stay a solo, but I scale my business to the level of profitability and the level of work-life balance that makes me happy. Okay, that's a different way of scaling, but it is a scale. Okay. Now, we've talked about scaling on the show plenty of times. Some of my favorite episodes on this topic are number 474 with Bria Hamill, where we discuss the keys to scaling your interior design business. And of course, in episode 589 with Eileen Hahn, talking about scaling from 2 to 5 million. So these are episodes when you want to scale big, right? But it's so funny. We often tell the story of one of our Exciting Windows members. Her goal is to be a solopreneur. She does not. She's in business more than 20 years. She's achieved her goal, by the way. But she joined Exciting Windows like 18, 19 years ago with a single goal of increasing her profitability, making a real level of living for herself and her family through her window treatment business, but maintaining that solopreneur status and maintaining X amount of weeks of vacation. Her goal is 10 weeks off a year. And do you know, 19 years later, she has achieved it. She takes her 10 weeks off. She is approaching $1 million in sales, and she has done it by scaling and accessing the people around her, the resources around her, so that she's running a business that makes sense for her. All right. So you have these episodes with Bria and Eileen if you want to get to multiple millions. But and Susan, who I'm talking about, Exciting Windows, was on the Window Treatment for Profit podcast, which we'll link. Okay. So here's the thing. Maybe you entered this industry because you were seeking freedom or flexibility, right? That's awesome. The thing is, what is it for you? Begin by defining what your vision for your business is. Then understand the messy middle is going to come. But if you are a big thinker, you can navigate it with more efficiency, with more clarity, and more speed. Okay? Because understand something, the messy middle doesn't just happen one time. It kind of happens over and over and over. When I think about the trajectory of the last 4+ decades in business, there are these periods where you just find yourself literally in that messy middle again. But as I said in the intro, you get better at recognizing it, and you get better at going through like these steps that Andrea has pointed out to us through this acronym of trust. You get better at navigating it, and you will too. Okay, so if you need more support, go to andreaslinks.com, where you will find all the links that connect with Andrea, whether you want to do that by reading her book, listening to her podcast, participating in her masterclass, all the ways. And of course, I'm inviting you to hang out with me and Andrea in person in Dallas, April 5th, 2024. All right. This is a full day of next level coaching for big thinkers like you who want to achieve your goals. All right. And then lastly, I want to remind you that applications are open for the WCAA Jill Robeson Memorial Scholarship. These awards honor the memory of Jill Robeson and promote education in the window covering industry. This year, we are giving away 4 scholarships in each of these categories. I should say 1 scholarship in each of these 4 categories. 1 scholarship for an interior designer, 1 for someone who owns a workroom, 1 for a window treatment installer, and 1 who owns a window treatment retail business. Okay. And these can be used for any education in the calendar year of 2024 or 2025. So you can attend a conference. You can use it to go to High Point. You can use it to come to Power Talk Friday. You can use it to apply, to put towards business coaching with someone like Andrea. All right. The deadline to apply is June 1st, 2024. You do need to be a member of the WCAA, which I highly encourage you to do. Okay. And the membership to be in the WCA, I think it's under $200. It's next to nothing. And the value and the resources and the education that we give you over there for both window treatment and interior designers is off the hook. All right. So, Andrea, thank you so much for joining me today and for teaching us how to think big. I love it. And I cannot wait to hang out with you in Dallas in just a couple of weeks. It's going to be here before we know it. And thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being on this journey with me. It's absolutely my pleasure. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn and Andrea, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnandandrea.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.